Everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Power of Podcasting. I am Nick Palkowski, and I am joined here today by Wayne Breitbarth, and we're going to be talking all about how to actually maximize your results on the new LinkedIn. So Wayne, thank you so much for joining us.
Nick, thanks for having me. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So Wayne, for our listeners, our viewers who don't necessarily know who you are, why don't you explain a little bit how you got so involved in LinkedIn?
So it was really by accident. At the time, 9 years ago, I owned an office furniture dealership, and our business had dropped in half around 2000, 2007, 8, when the recession hit. And I was trying to find ways to find new customers when nobody was buying office furniture. And a friend of mine was really hounding me about social media, specifically LinkedIn. And I was just like, no way. I'm 50 years old. I own this business. This stuff's silly. Go away. And then finally I broke down and tried the crazy thing. And when I could see that you could see who your friends knew, that the whole premise was first, second, third degree, I thought, you know what, this isn't Facebook. And the light went on that there's something here. And then I read a bunch of books. Then I figured out how to use it. And 90 days after I joined LinkedIn, we had our first furniture order because we could see a relationship from one of our sales guys. His friend was a doctor in Madison who used to play golf with the CEO in Milwaukee, and we used that relationship because we could see it to get an appointment with that CEO, and we got the order. And awesome. Then I said, this is real. This can work. And for the next year, Nick, what I decided to do was to teach LinkedIn, because I had done a lot of teaching over my career in whatever role I was in, and because nobody understood LinkedIn, and I'd read 4, 5, or 6 books because I started to get passionate. And I started teaching LinkedIn just to be in front of people to tell everybody what we sell, but also have them in my showroom is where we had the events, and they'd see our beautiful furniture, and then we'd have a chance to meet them and tell them about LinkedIn at the same time they see our stuff in case they ever did need anything. And it was at the end of that year of teaching. Catch this, I taught 105 classes that year.
Oh,
all for free. Wow. all as a business development tool from the accounting guy to sell furniture. But that's when my lovely wife decided we should write a book. And my book's called The Power Formula for LinkedIn Success. It's now in the 3rd edition, and we sold over 80,000 books. And that sort of then launched my career in being a national expert on LinkedIn. So I didn't see it coming, believe me, at all.
Oh, that's so cool that it really was born out of just like an experience, an actual need, and
like
finding
necessity. Yeah. It's like, we got to pay the bills. That's what I was ready to strangle my partner. Like, what are we going to do, man? And not that this solved all the issues during that time, because the recession was too deep and wide for that. But what it did was it showed me another avenue for my career that really was a lot more fun than being the CFO and a half owner of an office furniture dealership, which I had a lot of fun and still enjoyed it, but I was getting a little tired of the accounting part of my career. And so, you just never know. Sometimes you really got to just listen and watch and see what other people say, because people were saying, you're really good at this. I said, oh, I don't know. Okay, great. But then when you start getting that feedback over and over, I go, well, maybe they're right. Yeah, maybe there's something here. And then I started reading books about platform, like Hyatt's book and some other books to go, could I do this? Could I really make this a business? And started subscribing to things like, people like yourself, to look at all these kind of channels and markets and different social media tools. And so I've really just become definitely an expert in LinkedIn, but also really a student of all the other platforms and stuff too as marketing tools.
Oh, that's awesome. And so why do you think people should really be paying attention? Like, what's the power in LinkedIn? Why should people really be paying attention to it?
So what the power of LinkedIn boils down to this. It's 500 million professionals in a database, okay? And we've never had that before. With the ability to use keywords to find people, that's the power. Is that we now have a database where we can usually find whoever we need. And we can usually see a friend that knows these people. That first, second, third degree. It's the visibility of first, second, third degree in the network that pops up and shows up. The people have always known each other, but you never had the roadmap to get to it. So that's the power. The size of the database and the fact that we can see who we can call on to say, hey, you know that guy? Can you help me get in front of him? And so I think that's the power right there. And the beautiful thing about the 9 years I've been on LinkedIn is back when I started, there was a hesitancy about using it. A lot of people had profiles, but the use was like, well, I don't know, what am I supposed to do on this crazy thing? We've grown way past that, and there also is now no hesitancy, especially like with college kids. I teach on 2 or 3 college campuses each and every month. schools are now requiring it.
Oh,
So
nice.
what's beautiful about what's going on now is we have executives who are, let's say, are retiring, who are maybe LinkedIn neophytes or never really got started. Maybe they did a profile because their marketing person told
Just
them
told them to, yeah.
Right. And then, but they're being replaced by a student that has a profile when they're 21, graduates, and is going to probably use it forever. A user.
Starting to really figure out
Right.
all the intricacies, all the strategies.
So
that are
we're
involved
really,
with it.
so we're really just starting because of the there's no pushback from those folks.
Yeah, and so speaking of strategies, what are some of the big ones that you see being very effective right now for that solopreneur, that entrepreneur that's really trying to grow a business?
So let's start with the profile, because if you don't do the profile right, then the strategies and tactics to attract people to your profile when it's not very right is such a miss. So the new LinkedIn platform, which comes about because Microsoft bought LinkedIn in last December, and about that same time, we all got new platforms. So if you're on LinkedIn, you know you got your profile looks different, the picture looks different, and they took a whole bunch of information that was previously you could scroll down and read everything, job 1, job 2, your whole summary was all open, and they've closed all of the many sections. So the number one strategy is to relook at your profile and now see if there's certain things that used to be so important that somebody could read the whole thing without clicking one more button to say see more, read description. Because great information now is now buried in one more click, and people.
Yeah, they're not going to click.
They assume that the most important stuff is showing, but what LinkedIn did was close the drawers that they wanted to close. And so your summary used to be top-notch, the number one thing, because it was way at the top and it was wide open. It was 2,000 characters.
Yeah.
Now the summary's closed to only 200 characters, so you got to make sure the 200 characters are good. Your number one job entry is the only one that's open. All the rest are closed. You got to concentrate on that. Also, there's a section called accomplishments now, which we never had before, where you can put awards and honors and publications and certifications. And it's really big, and it says accomplishments. Well, guess what? If you don't have any accomplishments and I'm comparing you to somebody else who does the same thing you do, you don't have any accomplishments.
Right, yeah, no one knows, yeah.
So LinkedIn is, you got to look at your profile and go, what is LinkedIn highlighting and letting me look at? Like even the skills. Skills is now called 3 featured skills and 47 buried skills. Well, rearrange your skills.
Yeah, and you can just manually rearrange them and everything,
You can
right?
delete ones, you can move them up to the top and make sure that those top 3 are your top 3. So that's what it is. The first step on your profile is making sure that the open areas tell your story the way you want it. But then one thing that hasn't changed is keywords. If you have not figured out how to keyword optimize your profile, and it's not difficult, you are not going to show up high enough in the search. It's no different than Google, right? And the 3 spots for your audience, the 3 spots where you better make sure your keywords are that you know people search you for are your headline, any of your job titles, any and all your job titles in the skills section. The words are good everywhere. Multiple times is good. But those 3
those
spots,
are the big ones.
Those are the spots that you can move up in the search just like that.
That's good to know. That's good to know. So let's talk a little bit about just kind of that passive lead generation. What is some of the best ways, strategies people can use to actually just get people to sign up for their email list, to reach out to them in some way?
So a couple of ideas on that. I'll tell you a technique that I use. When you have inbound invitations, don't go so fast to accept, ignore, accept. Think it through and say, listen, these people have taken the first step. So especially like you and I, we have a pretty broad audience, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people can do podcasting, a lot of people can do LinkedIn, right? So we're blessed that way. So if in your inbox for your inbound invitations, there's spammers in there, right? There's going to always be spammers, people from other parts of the world, maybe not even real people. Hit ignore and report as spam and move on. But when you think about accepting, and you should accept a lot, especially when you have a product that could sell to a lot of people. After you accept, think about sending a thank you note to get them to do something. So what I do is when I go through my accepts, I try to think through, I look at their profile and I think, okay, what should I try to get this guy to, what call to action should I give this guy or gal, right? And if it's the owner of a company or a VP of sales and I look and see their company's big enough, I might give them a book. I might pitch my next workshop, and you do that in the thank you note, not in the they did a connection request to you. You do it in a thank you note.
Yep.
If I see them as maybe somebody that could attend a workshop or buy a book, then I have a standard verbiage where you say, hi, thanks for connecting on LinkedIn. I hope I'll be your number one LinkedIn resource. Let's get started by having you subscribe to my weekly newsletter on LinkedIn tips. It's free. It comes each and every Sunday. Do you want to be on the list?
Okay.
And I hand in a list to my wife who puts it in Infusionsoft weekly. It averages around 40 people a week.
Oh, nice.
Right?
No, that's cool. And so you're actually going through and doing that manually, though, correct?
Yeah, and I'm doing that because there's more to it than just the list, right?
Yeah.
If they took the first step, you should think that maybe something's up, that they need your help already. And they just didn't write you a note in the connection request, right? I mean, there's two features on LinkedIn where the other person takes the first step. That's one. You know what the other one is? Who's viewed your profile?
Oh, yeah. That's
right?
good.
So those two features, take note of, my friends, because you know they took the first step. And if you can clean out the spammers, you step back and go, now listen. If they took the first step to either look at my profile or even stronger, send me a note to connect, something's up.
Yeah. Well, and I know I've heard you talk a few times now, and I think one of the things that's really stuck with me is going through and seeing that who's viewed your profile. And then, like, if it's somebody who is a good connection, like, I will immediately send them a connection request. Even if they didn't necessarily send one to me, I'll send them a request. I'll make sure to use that actual little box to actually say something and talk to them in some way, connect to them in some way. And that's what I think is so powerful about the actual thank yous that you're talking about is, I know I get the automated ones sometimes from people, and you can tell immediately when they're automated, or like I always get the Twitter ones and the Facebook ones and everywhere. You can tell immediately when they're automated, but if you actually spend the time to craft a personal one, that's going to stand out. Like, people are going to actually realize.
And I've got 3 or 4 templates, right?
Right, exactly.
That I at least start with, and thinking, what should I get this what's the call to action for them based on what you learn from their profile? Because the nice thing about it is, if you do look at their profile and think about them one at a time, there probably is, this is a better offer than this. But if you treat everybody generically, then you're going to miss opportunities where somebody should not just buy your book, but they should hire you because it looks like they have a sales conference every year or whatever, right?
Yeah. And now, that I think that's excellent. So when you're actually out there, let's say someone's out there actually looking for leads, what are some good strategies that people can do along those lines?
So the number one strategy for looking for leads is first to define your target audience. So I just got done with a workshop where people were looking to meet business attorneys. What they provided business evaluation services, usually referred by a business attorney, right? So the search we did at the workshop was business attorney or business lawyer in Madison, and up came a list, like 450. And then, catch this, the new platform does have some cool things. It's not as negative as people said. There's a box there where you can just click second degree. Then we clicked the second degree, and the list turned out to be then 210. And then the reason I like that list brought down to just second degree is that all those 210 are all people, somebody I know knows them because I made them second degree, right? So the technique is get your list, figure out how tight you want it to be, and then start bringing people into your network, sending a customized connection request to those people. And here's the thing, Nick. If you customize your connection request, and there's several techniques that you could mention in that message. You always customize the message, just like you said. But if you think about what you're trying to accomplish with them, you send them the connection request, but you include what you would want them to do, like, hey, I'd love to have a phone call, or I got this webinar coming up, or whatever. And you sort of pitch something in there that's interesting, and then you close the connection with, in the meantime, I'd be honored to have you join my LinkedIn network. And that step at least causes what I call a marketing event. In other words, a prospect looked at your profile, whether they connect or not.
Yeah, they at least are aware of you now.
They're aware of you. They're maybe aware of your company name, and you didn't pay a cent for that. How cool is that?
That's pretty awesome.
So even if you don't get the connection because you don't sit in the corner and pout because you had a marketing event that maybe even they printed your profile and put it in a file and said, if I ever need a valuation person, now I know another one. But the ones that do connect, what you do is you follow up with a thank you note and offer something of value.
Nice,
You know,
I like it.
Webinar, or it's a book, or whether you say, here's some stuff, we should get together for a cup of coffee or whatever. So it's finding the target audience and then not just connecting, because it's not like baseball cards. Oh, I got,
you just don't want to collect as many as possible.
What do we need? We're all looking for the appointment. or the meeting or the email exchange or whatever is the next step. And usually that does have to still get instigated by us.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. So Wayne, I want to really kind of dive into what is your biggest ninja strategy? What is the one that you think may not necessarily be the most broadly used, but what's that one really unique strategy that you think would be helpful for people?
So I've already mentioned 2 or 3,
Okay.
but here's one. That list that I just told you, on the new platform, this is very difficult to find. And this is on the free account, by the way. You don't have to pay.
Awesome.
So now you got this list of business attorneys, and you decide you're going to do second degree because you can always see a friend in between and get referrals. But if you slide all the way down to the bottom of that list, there's a box that says Create Search Alert. And you click that button, and then weekly LinkedIn will send you all the new business attorneys that your friends are meeting each and every week that they're meeting them.
That's
Like,
really cool.
hello,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you can not be on LinkedIn all week, and if you set that search alert up for weekly, you're going to get an email from LinkedIn that says, "Oh, I have 3 new attorneys that your friends have met this week. They connected with this week." Home run.
Oh, that's
And you get
that's
3
cool.
save search alerts on the free platform.
Oh, that's nice. So yeah, you can set up 3 different ones of those.
And we're all
just,
looking
like-
for automation, right?
Oh yeah.
I forgot to be on LinkedIn this week. Well, you're going to get pinged every week as a reminder of, hey, Nick, you were not on LinkedIn, but I was working for you finding these 5 other people that now meet your search criteria.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. What are some of the big, so we talked strategies, but what are some of the big mistakes that you see people commonly make when they're, just getting started with LinkedIn, or even if they've been on LinkedIn for a while, but are just underutilizing it?
First mistake is that their profile looks like a resume. It's not even pitching or explaining what they do or why they're different. It doesn't even have the information that's on their website, right? I'm not saying you got to create even new content. A lot of it's great over there if you worked hard on it. Bring it over here. Yeah. So that's probably the first mistake, is that your profile is not clear. It's not clear for your target audience. Or it's not even clear for me if I'm not your target audience, because then I'm not interested. Instead, I scratch my bald head and say, what the heck does the guy do, right? So that's probably the first mistake. The second mistake is only connecting with the people you know or have met. I call that the handshake or the hug strategy, right? You met them.
Yep, you met them.
Instead of doing the search like I just did for the attorney and going, listen, if I went out to an event tonight, networking, like we're used to, and I walked into the room, I'd go, gosh, can I meet any business attorneys here? It's not like they have it on their forehead. Come
Right.
talk to me. And we shake hands all night long, and we meet no attorneys.
Right.
And yet
he might have been sitting in the corner.
Yeah,
and
but we can't tell that because we don't carry a profile right here like this, right? But LinkedIn, it's that beautiful list, and yet nobody wants to send a connection request. They're sort of nervous or don't know the etiquette. I can understand some of the etiquette because LinkedIn doesn't make that easy sometimes. Right. But so that's a second mistake, is not being proactive and reaching out to your target audience and trying to start a conversation. Right? It's what it's for. I mean, people are on LinkedIn for a reason, and I think you should assume that they're on the reason is they want to meet you until they tell you they don't.
Yeah, right.
And I guess the third thing I would say is not allocating a consistent amount of time.
Okay.
Not having a routine, a LinkedIn routine, because just jumping in there once a month,
is not going to
you're going to miss messages. People are going to think you're not getting back to them. And I tell you what, I'm guilty on that issue on Facebook myself. I'm first to admit. I know Facebook can help me. I spend some time on it, but there are weeks that it goes by that I don't. And so I preach this hard on LinkedIn, but I'm guilty on the Facebook, because all these platforms are hard. But if you don't figure out what your routine is going to be on LinkedIn, then you're probably not going to do it consistently.
Yeah.
I mean, LinkedIn statistics, they told us last fall that at that time were there about 425 million profiles or users, okay? They told us that only 125 million access LinkedIn monthly or more. So that means 3/4 don't, Nick.
Okay.
3/4 of the users. Now that doesn't mean they don't use it, but it means that maybe they used a lot when they were in a job search.
And then
they let us sit, and maybe they go in there every month or two or every quarter. So there's still useful profiles to find, but we have to realize that not everybody is as active. So when we send out connection requests, they may take a while. May take a while. So you just don't worry. That doesn't mean they're not interested. But you need a routine. We need a routine if LinkedIn's going to be one of the tools that you use consistently.
Yeah. And so what should that routine really look like? Like, what do you kind of recommend as the minimum routine?
Yeah. So my recommendation, my 5 no more than 10 minutes a day. Got it? 5 no more than 10. I would do the following 3 things. I would look at my inbound invitations, which
Okay.
we've already discussed, and be very purposeful about them. There might be some follow-ups that take place. I would look at who's viewed your profile,
Okay.
because both of those 2 things are where they took the first step. And then the third thing I would look at is the brand new tab on LinkedIn called notifications. The notification tab is an answer to all our prayers in that our home feed is so busy now, right? Where people post and share. It's so crowded with number one information from because we have more connections, all of us do now, and we have ads in there and you name it. The notification section, LinkedIn did a really nice thing for all of us by saying, I'm going to give you this one tab over here where it's stuff about your connections having birthdays, anniversaries, and changes in jobs, who's viewed your profile, and anybody that's interacted with a post or a share that you put up.
Okay. No,
Good stuff.
That's super nice.
Yeah.
That's super nice. So, and just because you were talking about posts and shares, how often, especially as content creators, how often should they be in there posting, sharing, doing that kind of stuff?
Well, it's sort of like Facebook in that it's crowded,
Yeah.
and you once a day is probably not enough. That's why you usually have to use an automation tool like a Buffer or a Hootsuite to really be effective with shares and status updates. If you try to wake up every day and remember to do it a few times a day, we get too busy, right?
Right.
But when you sit down and you're methodical about it and use one of those tools and do it to Facebook, Twitter, and your LinkedIn, and maybe even your LinkedIn company page at the same time, that works. So it's a matter of being consistent and having enough. And I'd say enough to really get some traction. You probably need several posts a day or shares.
Okay.
And the shares can be other people's stuff.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
exactly.
one of the nice things, another new part of the new LinkedIn is that on your profile now, right after the top box, which is your name, your headline, and the beginning of your summary, right below that is called activity. We do not have to search around for your activity anymore. So if I'm checking you out for the first time, way at the top I get to go, did he write any articles? And what's he been sharing? And I can look at your entire activity feed to really check out your expertise.
That's
that
cool.
used to be a buried feature on the old platform.
Yeah, I remember that. That was always frustrating. I could never
how can I not find anybody's
Yeah.
activity feed?
Yeah.
So that really has been a big help. And that means also, though, if you haven't shared for weeks, guess what your activity feed shows?
No, it's gonna show
And
nothing.
people will judge you,
Yep.
sort of like that accomplishment.
Exactly.
No accomplishments, no activity, no share, don't care about me,
Yeah.
right?
Awesome. So Wayne, if our viewers, if our listeners want to hear more about you, learn more about LinkedIn from you, what's the best thing for them to do?
So my website's got everything, powerformula.net. That's where you can sign up to get those weekly tips we talked about. It's where you can check out the information on my book, my upcoming seminars. I do workshops all over the Midwest. I do one-on-one consults. That information's there too. So powerformula.net is really my hub, but LinkedIn's fine too. Find me on LinkedIn,
There you go.
send me a nice note, say we met here on the podcast, and I would love to have you join my network and see if we could help each other.
Awesome. Well, Wayne, I want to let you go here in just a second, but any final pieces of advice for our listeners?
My final piece of advice, I would say it's this. If you're in the B2B space and you're not on LinkedIn, let's say an hour a week, and have not figured out how to use it, you're probably missing a big opportunity. That's my final piece of advice.
I like it. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of The Power of Podcasting, and be sure to tune in next week.